हतम हाल है, काबू न दिल को है न ज़बा को मजाल है। मैं हूँ गुलाम एक मेरी क्या मजाल है, हैदर का जिगर फातिमा का नौनिहाल है। आशिक़े सुबह आका तुम्हें है अहमद हैदर का वास्ता, ज़हरा का और शब्बीरो शब्बर का वास्ता, बाकर का और आबिद मुज़तर का वास्ता, दुख दर्द और रंजो अलम से करो रिहा, है आशिक़े सुबह। मौला सवाल लाई है खाली न फेरना, दामन हमारे गौहर मकसूद से भरना, नजरे मनाई हमने जो मकबूल ही करना, दरबार से मायूस किसी को न फेरना, आशिक़े सुबह। हर सुबह शाम मेरी दुआ है मेरे मौला, इश्क़े मदीना से मेरा दिल तड़प रहा, या सिबते मुस्तफ़ा मुझे बुलवा लो करबला, चूमू ज़री है पाक शहंशाह करबला, आशिक़े इमाम जाफर सादिक़, इनके सुल्तान इमाम जाफर सादिक़, सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम।
Sheikh Mujtaba Khaliq, respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sir Fatah is requested for the Isala Sawab or the Marhumeen listed on the screen and for all Marhumeen. Al-Fatiha. Amin Jibu is requested for the names listed on the screen and for all those in need here and elsewhere. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. The sufra for Imam Ja'far Sadiq alayhi salam will be held tomorrow, Friday, March 5th at 3 p.m. for the ladies here at the Masjid. Also, the commemoration of the wafat of Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam will be held on Monday, March 8th at 7:30 p.m. Sayyid Shibir Kirmani will be speaking on fortifying the Ja'fari school, invaluable lessons on patience, and success from the tyrant's dungeons. Also, the commemoration of the wafat of Hazrat Abu Talib alayhi salam's wafat will be on Tuesday, March 9th at 7:30 p.m. Sheikh Mujtaba Khaliq will be speaking on Abu Talib, God's special agent. On Wednesday, March 10th, we will be celebrating the night of Mab'at here at the mosque with Sheikh Mujtaba conducting the Amal program. On Thursday, it will be a regular program with Sheikh Mujtaba discussing the topic of Mab'at, narrations and implications. Food drive. The Irish team is continuing their initiative of sponsoring food for a local shelter in the month of Sha'aban. The requested donation is $5 per person. However, any amount is welcomed. Donations can be made via PayPal or the website as shown on the screen. Finally, if you or your child is interested in reciting during programs held here at the Masjid, please reach out to me at 407-619-2021 for the gents or Sister Jamila Ghulam Hussain at 407-255-5112 for the ladies, or sign up using the link on the screen. At this time, I'd like to invite Sheikh Mujtaba to come recite tonight's majlis with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحه وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن الناس من يتخذ من دون الله أندادا ومن الناس من يتخذ من دون الله أندادا يحبونهم كحب الله والذين آمنوا أشد حبا لله آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد. Dear Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this a blessed evening for all of us, this Laylatul Jumu'ah in this month of Rajab. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to be amongst those who return to Him, inshallah, seek His forgiveness for ourselves and for our marhumeen, our ancestors, those who passed away from mu'mineen and mu'minat on this layla, on this night. As we prepare, we go through this month and prepare ourselves for the spiritual journey of the upcoming months of Sha'ban and the month of Ramadan. The discussion that I'd like to have briefly, inshallah, tonight is regarding the concept of love in the dua known as dua Kumayl, the dua that often you and I, mu'mineen and mu'minat, we recite. This dua, in fact, as I was discussing it with one of the mu'mineen, and I mentioned the topic that I had in mind, I'm using his line, so I'm hoping there's no copyright infringement, but he said it is a love letter to God. He called Dua Kumayl as Imam Ali alayhi salam's love letter to God. In fact, this is filled with love, and it is a communication of love. Although, unfortunately, many of us, we read it ritually, and therefore we do not feel the power of love in the communication between Imam Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, and his creator. Between him and God is such a strong love relationship, and this is indeed a love letter, if we only understood. In this month, mu'mineen, in the name of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, they gather and they feed. I think they call it sufru. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, in love of God and love of those who love God, will love them in return and grant them their hajat, inshallah, and bigger than their hajat. In fact, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give us what we asked for, He is giving us better. We just don't see it or don't realize it. As a dua from Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in there, Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbaka wa hubba man tuhib, أو من يحبك وحب كل عمل يوصلني إلى قربك. Oh Allah, I ask you for your love, to grant me your love, and to grant me the love of those whom you love, and to grant me the love of those whom you also love, and to grant me the love of actions that draw me near to you, make me closer to you. Inshallah, these actions in love of Ahlul Bayt, the love of the lovers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will be accepted from mu'mineen and mu'minat, and their hajat granted, inshallah. Back to Dua Kumayl and some of the communication of love between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, between Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi and his Lord, his the Creator. The ayah that I recited from Surah Al-Baqarah that I began with, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the believers as having more love for God than those who don't believe have their love for worldly things. There are people who don't have faith or have weak faith, and they have attachment and love for worldly things. Compared to that love of those who are attached and love worldly things, whatever it may be. Some may be attached to money, some may be attached to individuals, loving individuals, loving certain things, actions, or certain material things, whatever it is. Loving anyone or anything besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for some it might be a great love. They might be in deep love and they consider it in fact very valuable, something that is of great value to them. Yes, we can love our parents, our children, our spouse, all of these things in line with loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is not different to loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is not what I'm referring to. Besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, loving one for physical things, loving one for worldly things, loving anyone or anything for worldly things, not for the sake of God, not for the sake of akhirah and so on. There are certain people who have that love and they speak about it and they write poetry about it. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes those who love God as having a stronger love. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. If one tastes, and I say tastes, if one has a sip of the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, takes a little taste of the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every other love becomes invaluable, or becomes unvaluable, or non-valuable. It becomes non-valuable, it becomes insignificant, absolutely insignificant compared to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, when you find lovers, real lovers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their language and the communication they have is not something you could use for anyone or anything. It's way above. It is not something we can even compare. You have some poetry. They call it ghazal, but not any type of ghazal. Ghazal could be referring to poetry of love in terms of worldly things, or male to female or female to male. However, they call it ghazal irfani, meaning it is the type of ghazal, type of love poetry that is above. It is not for anyone or anything, only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you read those kind of poetry or those lines, you will find it way above. It's nothing to even compare with anything. You cannot use it. I shared some lines in Persian, Farsi poetry with some of the mu'mineen. And I said, can you even think of anyone? Now if you tell me I'm thinking of, say, for instance, the mother, loving the mother in that level, it's because that love is in line with love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Parents or mother or children in love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even then, some of the lines that these poets they use, you cannot use for anyone. It's way above. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. Above all these poets, now put all these poets, in fact, aside, above all of them, we have lines from Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamu alayhim, and specifically lines in Dua Kumayl that speak of a different level of love altogether. Totally different. If somebody takes Dua Kumayl or some lines of Dua Kumayl out of context and just reads that line on its own, they might think Dua Kumayl is a scary thing. Just like somebody takes some ayat of the Holy Quran out of context, doesn't understand the merciful God and His mercy that is in fact displayed through His invitation and communication with us through the Holy Quran, takes one line out of context and they see the Quran, some may see the Quran as a scary thing, may see it harsh. Somebody once said to me, why does the Quran have so much warnings, or so many warnings and so much harshness? Why does it have so many ayat describing the hellfire? We speak of God being the merciful, why does it? And I told them that if a government, if a transport agency puts signs on the road warning you, would you feel bad towards them? Or would you think, well, they put so many signs, thank God they have all these signs, so I don't end up falling into a ditch or doing something that's harmful or crazy. They put all these things. God puts all these warnings in the Holy Quran out of His love. But put it into context and read the rest of the ayat of the Holy Quran and you will find a communication of love. And therefore, Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamu alayhim reciprocate that love in their supplications. They read Quran and are inspired through the Holy Quran, and then they communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with their supplications and du'as that we recite, and a communication filled with love. Again, don't take lines out of it or from it out of context. Look at the entire thing. Within the same dua that describes a situation, the Imam, after the initial part of the dua, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by His mercy that encompasses everything, absolutely everything is encompassed in His mercy, وَسِعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ, and all the beautiful attributes that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, after the initial part, there is a big section of the dua that the Imam speaks of a situation of him or anyone, imaginary situation of hellfire, being in hellfire. And then describes how difficult it is. وَهَذَا مَا لَا تَقُومُ لَهُ السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ. The heavens and the earth cannot stand it. A level of the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a fire. So you might think, well, where is this love communication? Within those lines of extreme harshness, to some may think, well, this is harsh. Describing fire, describing lack of mercy, or describing the absence of His mercy, which is in fact nothing but our actions. Our actions drove us away from His mercy. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, when He speaks about the believers, He says that through His mercy He draws them near Him. Near Him meaning paradise, nearness to God. Through His mercy, not near Him physically. And when it comes to the non-believers, or those who did the wrong things and deserve the punishment, He says they are then driven. He doesn't say He does it to them. They are then taken to their places in the fire. When He speaks of the barrier between the good ones and the evil ones, He says the inner, the core, the reality of the barrier is the beauty. فيها الرحمة. But the appearance is من قبله العذاب. It appears as punishment or as the fire. In other words, the reality is mercy, they missed out on it. They got themselves into. Then even there, Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala. He says even there, even in a realm that I drove myself into that fire. Say, I am there. فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي صبرت على عذابك. I have to tolerate and be patient against the punishment, what you have decreed on a formative level of the consequences of my action. I now have to be patient through it. But how can I be patient being separated from you? فكيف أصبر على فراقك. More than that, he continues line after line saying, Ya Allah, I am there, I deserve being there, but I miss your mercy. I am so used to your mercy, I miss it. This is the communication of love. Therefore, the more as he goes further in the dua, he then asks for that love. He then asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, further in the dua, he says, Ya Allah, grant me not any level, but a special level of your love. He says, Habni, or أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك. That communication continues until towards the end of the dua, he asks specifically, he says, Ya Allah, grant me that level of love, that special love from you, Ya Allah, that you have decreed for the believers, for the righteous ones. You and I, again, we recite dua Kumayl. We don't go through this journey. Again, it's a love letter from Imam Amirul Mu'mineen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't go through the journey and we don't get to the destination. If we don't go through the journey, if we don't recognize the fact that it's our own a'mal, our own deeds, that drive us away from that level of love and mercy that He wants for us. He prepared it for us. أُعِدَّتْ Jannah, paradise, His nearness has been prepared already. أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ It's already prepared. Don't you ever doubt the mercy and love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is already prepared for you. One of my teachers and great scholars, in fact, Urafa, he often used to tell us, it would take a real fool, excuse the terms, to not make it to paradise or to make it to hell. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared your paradise, has prepared your garden. It is there for you. Yes, sometimes we give it up. We give it to others. أُورِثْتُمُوهَا Quran says, أُورِثْتُمُوهَا You became the heirs of some gardens. Why? It didn't belong to someone else, did it? Yes, it did. In the hadith we are told, oftentimes we give up our gardens, or some people give up, inshallah it's none of us, give up our gardens and get ourselves a place in hell, and others inherit that. أُورِثْتُمُوهَا There is an inheritance there. Some of us, unfortunately, and I often remind people, in transactions in this world, whether it be marriage, whether it be divorce, whether it be transactions of buy and sell, whatever it may be, don't always look to be the winner here. You know, what's in it for me? Often people, this is the question, what's in it for me? What am I getting out of this relationship? Nowadays we're having divorce rates going up, unfortunately. Why? Because we're looking very narrow-minded, very short-sighted. We're looking into this dunya, forgetting the hereafter. What's in it for me? Even within this dunya, we're only looking at the very surface. We calculate things with our own calculators. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His own. We think it is as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Therefore, what's in it for me? Therefore, this is not good for me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, 1 sometimes equals to millions and infinity. You do 1 good deed and compare it to what you could get. 1 salawat, we have a hadith. 1 salawat in the month of Rajab, we are in the month of Rajab. شوقا لرسول الله. If somebody says it out of real missing or real emotions and love for the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, out of love, out of sincere emotions, 1 salawat could grant us the highest of levels in heaven. 1 salawat. But again, sincere out of love. We undermine the level. One thing I said, out of love for God, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. There is love. In the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing the good deeds, we can go. In this world, materialistic transactions or materialistic calculations of transactions, we're looking for the win. No, look at the win in the hereafter. Jannat that you will be inheriting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already prepared it for us. Look for that, look towards that, look to the nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In His love, when you read the dua, let it be real communication of love. Let it be an emotion of gratitude, number 1. We start with what? Recognizing and acknowledging His mercy. Gratitude. أسألك برحمتك. I'm asking you, but at the same time, I know that your mercy has encompassed everything. Do you see how the Imam asks? How they teach us to ask? Therefore, when he comes to the end of the dua, he asks for the highest levels. أحسن عبادك. Make me amongst the best of your servants. نصيبا عندك. In your eyes, not in the eyes of the people, not what people would think of me. No, in your eyes, I want to be the best. Fill my heart with your love. وَقَلْبِي بِحُبِّكَ مُتَيَّمًا. Make my heart melt in your love. Fill it so much that annihilation in love, basically. I am nothing, it's all you. It's all about you. You hear that in newlyweds, yeah, lovers, or I don't know, maybe not newlyweds, before wedding. It's all about you. It's claims sometimes, most of the time. Inshallah, it's for the sake of God, so it becomes reality, inshallah. But when we speak about the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is what it is. It's all about Him. One forgets themselves. This is how Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi communicates with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this night, on this Laylatul Jumu'ah, to grant us abundance of His love, to grant us the level of love that leads to us communicating in love of Him. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us halawata dhikrik, the love, the sweetness of His remembrance, enjoying our salat as it is remembrance, enjoying our communication as it is remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remembrance of the lover, of the beloved. We ask Him to make us amongst those who listen to what's said and follow what's best. And thus, in this Laylatul Jumu'ah, let us remember all mu'mineen and mu'minat who are unwell, those who asked us for dua. We have members of our community who are unwell asked for dua. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant every one of them the quick recovery and well-being, both physically and spiritually. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that all mu'mineen and mu'minat in difficulty anywhere in the world, that He grants them a quick relief and victory. We ask Him to hasten the reappearance of our Imam and make us amongst those who prepare for his return. Last but not least, let us remember all marhumeen, all those who passed away from our gatherings, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant them abundance of His mercy and the rewards of what we recited, as well as the rewards of Al-Fatiha ma'a salat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات. برای خوشنودی امام زمان بلندتر صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ذات وارثة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح نبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا صار الله وابن صاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت في نورا في الأسلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرزي الزكي الحادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. زيارة جناب علي أكبر. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها الشهيد وابن الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. زيارة شهداء كربلاء. السلام عليكم يا أولياء، السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباه، السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وأعداه، السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الناصح، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله، بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما، فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. زيارة جناب حضرت عباس. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك أيها العبد الصالح المطيع لله ولرسوله، أشهد أنك قد جاهدت ونصحت وصبرت حتى أتاك اليقين. لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين وألحقهم بدرك الجحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي ولي الله، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا إمام الحسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.